Superior Jazz is back on Sunday, May 7th, 2023. The perfect vibe with the perfect setting under the Beatles. Jazz, Sammy, Arthur Blair, Boo Hinkson, headliner Christopher Martin,
Don't let me cheat on my girlfriend.
and soca sensation Patrice Roberts.
Drink water and mind my business.
Early bird tickets 100 EC. Tickets cost 130 EC and VIP tickets 300 EC. Get your tickets at all sale outlets, Steve Barbershop, and the Sophia Regional Development Foundation. Follow Sophia Jazz the Experience on Facebook for more information.
Children under 12 are free. No smoking allowed.
Good night, good night. Welcome to Let's Connect on 88.5 Sufre FM. I want to thank all of you who are already logged on, always on. Y'all are so quick. Wow. Okay, great. Wonderful. That means everybody is ready to get started tonight. I love that. I love that. Wishing everybody a wonderful Tuesday. It is Tuesday, the 18th of April. So we are here on Let's Connect. I'm apologizing for last week's absence. But this week we definitely have a very interesting show. We have in studio, my guest is already here with us in studio. I'll be introducing her in a little bit. We're going to do a few housekeeping matters first. So want to give a big shout out first and foremost to all those of you listening on radio on 88.5 Super FM. Thank you for keeping it locked to the best radio station on island. We want to give a big shout out to the various communities in Soufrière. We want to shout out Fort Saint-Jacques and all the different communities of Fort Saint-Jacques, including Belvedere, Saint Philip, Espérance, Mini, Moka, Belfort. We want to give a big shout out to Boisden. Those of you at Belle Plaine, we're stretching out far tonight. We want to go all the way to Etangs, to Fort Jalib. Good night to you guys in Mont-Lacroix, Chateau Bel want to say good night to you guys all over. I want to say good night to Janice James in Fosse Jacques. Don't say I didn't give you a shout out, Janice. Good night to you. Hoping that you had a good Tuesday. I want to say good night to those of you at Zeno, those of you in Wavinclair, those of you at Colabet at Crestland, those of you in New Development, those of you at Palmis. If you're in Forbenier, good night to you. Good night, Mr. Elwin. Good night, Mr. Cagney. Good night, Mrs. Pam. Good night to you guys. Those of you listening at the beach park, if you're at the beach park, I hope night. Those of you in the town of Soufrière, those of you at at Wingsville, those of you on Boulevard Street, all right? We want to say good night to all those of you Church Street. I want to shout out especially those of you at Church Street and those of you on the block. Good night to you. Good night to everyone listening at Sulphur Springs. If you're in Margaretwood, good night to you. All right. Bouton, Diamond. Good night, good night, good night. All right. I hope I didn't miss out anybody, but if I did, please let me know in our live chat. All right. Good night to you, Miss Camilla Jean. Good night to the Jean family of Etangs. Thanks for keeping it locked to Let's Connect. If I missed out any community, please let me know in our live chat. Tonight, I want our live chat to be as bustling as it was on our last show. I loved the level of participation we had the last time. I want to invite all members of the Vendors Association tonight to be in the chat. So if we forget anything, you can tell us. If we forget to mention somebody or if we forget to mention something that's coming up with the Vendors Association tonight, we want to invite all the members to be on the chat, be on our live chat tonight so that you can keep us updated so that we can make sure that the public is aware of everything happening with the Vendors Association. On that note, I would like to introduce to you the PRO of the Vendors Association, Miss Janelle Lamontagne, who is with me in studio. So tonight we will be discussing everything to do with the upcoming launch of the Vendors Association and what is happening regarding and surrounding and involving the Vendors Association in Soufrière and all the big things that's happening on that end. So we want to big up all those of you on the chat who are part of the Vendors Association, the president, the executive members, those on the board with Miss Janelle. We want to say good night to those of you who are on the chat. Good night to you, Miss Cheryl William. Good night, Miss Buffer Prosper. Thank you for joining us on our live. I want to welcome the rest of you who are on. If you're on, just say hello. Just say a little hi, good night, so that we can see you on, so that I can shout you out. I want to say good night to Miss Bernadette Nelson. She has been suffering with the flu for the last few days. So I want our prayer warriors tonight. I'm calling on you to give a prayer of healing. Put your arms out in healing for Miss Bernadette Nelson and the flu that is trying to take hold of her. So we want to give her a special shout out tonight. Also, for any other person who is suffering right now, we want to give a special shout out to Miss Pamela Felix of Palmis. She has such a great spirit. When I speak to Miss Pamela on the phone, you would never believe that's who I'm speaking to. Miss Pamela gives such great energy over the phone. Good night to you, Miss Pamela. Good night to your sisters as well. Good night to the whole family. We want to say good night to you guys in Palmis. We definitely have you in our thoughts and prayers. Those of you who are suffering with various illnesses, we ask for our prayer warriors to put your healing hands out tonight for them. We know some persons, quite a few persons are suffering with, currently have members of their families that they've lost. We have quite a few things happening. We want to also reach out to our district education officer whose husband is being buried this week. We want her to know that she's in our thoughts and prayers. She sent out such a sentimental message on Facebook that I read, and it really touched me. And definitely hoping that you'll feel some sort of an ease, Miss Charlemagne. So going out to Miss Joelle Charlemagne tonight. Also, next week, Friday the 28th, is the funeral of our fallen soldier, Don Theodil. So those of you who are able to attend that funeral, please do so. So we have quite a few persons who we need to extend thoughts and prayers to this week. And so we ask all of you who are listening, all of you who are able to, please keep them in your thoughts and prayers. If I missed out anybody, please feel free to send it in the chat. If we have anybody celebrating birthdays this week, please, we want to say happy birthday to you. So if you know of anyone, please send the names in the chat so that we can give them a shout out. All right. So we are going to get into the meat of the matter tonight. So, Ms. Janelle, good night to you. Thank you so very much for joining us.
Good evening. Good evening.
All right. We want to say congratulations to the Vendors Association on the endeavors that they've started up recently. So I know that you have an executive at the moment. How many members of the executive are there?
My name is Janelle Lamontagne. I am the PRO of the Soufre Vendors Association. This association was formed 2 months ago. Reason for, we have a lot of vendors that is, we have lots of vendors in Soufre, and we have lots of vendors that has potential. And if we come underneath one umbrella, we believe that coming underneath one umbrella would make a voice for us.
Okay. Well, that will make sense, because when you join together, you have strength in numbers, you have a bigger voice. So that would definitely make sense. In terms of the purpose, so that would be the main reason for forming the association, to give you all a bigger voice.
We want to do something different in Soufre, right? We have many vendors, and there's nothing sustainable for our vendors. So if we as vendors come together as one, our voice could be heard. Most vendors, there's lots of complaints. Tourist vendors, market vendors, event vendors. So if we come together and put each and every one underneath one umbrella, I believe there will be a better soufre, a better association. Also, the communication and the strategy would be even better because each and every one of us will be coordinating with each other to make Sufre better.
I like how you said you'll be coordinating with each other, because we know that sometimes we see it typically with the market vendors, where, well, not really the vendors, but with farmers, we tend to have a surplus of one produce all the time, because there's no coordination as to, okay, if you're growing cucumbers, the other one can do tomatoes, another one can do lettuce, another one can do something else, right? So the coordination aspect of it, I think that's very important. So I want to commend you on that for sure. So hoping that the members are all in alignment with this goal that the organization has, that the vendors association has, so that you all can coordinate. I like that. Okay. I know that you've been building up membership. Tell us a little bit about how somebody can become a member. How many members do you have now? Who's on the executive? Tell us a little bit about the membership status of the organization.
Okay. As you know, it's a vendors association, and we had to elect a board to run the association. And we as vendors, so event vendors, tourist vendors, and market vendors, came together to elect the board. We have our executive members, our president, Teresa Prosper, our vice president, Peter Butcher, our secretary, Lavina St. Bryce, our vice secretary, Anatala St. Jabatis, our treasurer, Vinicio Joseph, our vice treasurer, Leanne Clement, our PRO, likewise, that's myself, Janelle, trustee, British Pascal and Agatha Survey, our florists, Michaelina Prosper, Luciana Seville, Angus Regis.
Okay, so there are some men. I'm happy to see that there are some men involved in the executive. Okay, and how is the membership drive going so far? How many members have been recruited?
Well, I am very surprised because we actually have 100 registered members so far.
Oh, that's great. That's wonderful. Kudos to you. Kudos to the organization, and that's a good number for the start of a membership. Okay, 100 members, wonderful. So there are 100 market, event, and what was the other category?
Craft vendors.
And craft vendors in Sufre so far, and there are more that there's possibly more that could be joining up.
Yes.
Okay, so how can somebody join?
Well, we are open. We have a registration for marketing vendors. We have different categories. So each category has the way of registering.
Okay, so for the market vendors, how can a market vendor register?
So the market vendor need to have a form and a picture ID and to become a member with a fee of $20.
Okay, and where can they get that form?
You could get that form at the president, likewise the PRO and the secretary, or any member of the executive. So anybody who really wants to join the association, we have an executive. You could speak to an executive, or you could speak to a member that are already in the association, that they could give you a form. And with that form, we also need your picture ID. Reason why for the picture ID is just to identify who we're dealing with.
Okay, all right. Farmers ID have the picture, right? So they can use their farmers ID if they have it.
We just want not actually farmers ID, just a picture of them.
Okay, all right. So national ID would work best.
Just a national ID.
Okay,
Yes.
great. Okay, so for vendors, market vendors, it's the form which they can get from any member of the executive, and also their picture ID and $20.
Yes.
Okay, so event vendors, how can they register?
Likewise, event vendors are the same.
Okay, the same process.
The
The
same
form, the ID, $20.
Yes.
Okay, so the difference would be in the craft vendors.
Yes. The reason why for the craft vendors, because it's a vending association that is very typical, meaning that we don't want we would like everybody to come on board to be a craft vendor, but we also have to look for background checks as well. So if you wanna be a member of it and you newly come in, we'd have to do a background checkup. So we asking for a certificate of character.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that's how they become a member.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we have these three categories of persons. We know how they can become a member. So right now, what is the next step? You're a member. I'm a member of the Suffragette Vendors Association. What is our next step? What's happening? What's going on with the Vendors Association? What's on the agenda right now?
Our agenda is to make sure that our vendors are in a better working environment, safe environment. Um, and for us, we just started, so it's gonna be a lot. It is gonna be a big task for us as an executive board. Um, but we trying to work with our vendors. So we trying and analyze. First of all, we finding out what our vendors' problems, because
Okay.
each vendors have different problems. So certain the market vendors may have maybe they're getting wet. And maybe event vendors may say, well, they don't have any toilet when they're doing their events. Tourist vendors must be saying, the people won't stop. So we have to listen. So on the executive, our president is willing to listen to our vendors and they complain, um, and then we take a step forward.
Okay. So the goal is once we know what the issues are, for us to work towards helping them alleviate their issues.
Yes.
Okay. So that's a commendable goal. I do believe that's something, especially with the craft vendors and those that deal with tourists mainly, because I do think that has been a situation that they want to get rectified. That not all the time the tourists are able to stop or not stop long enough to shop from them. So I do think that they would appreciate some sort of assistance in that area. In terms of the issues, I guess it would be different depending on the location as well. Where they're located, they might have different issues based on that. So where you would find issues where maybe you would have to approach different organizations for assistance. How does the Suffragette Vendors Association propose to go forward with that? Are you going to be calling meetings with stakeholders, or will you be writing to them, or how will you be tackling these issues?
Well, I must say, forming that association was our parliamentary rep idea, to have the vendors underneath one umbrella so that it would be able to um, deal with us in a better manner instead of individual. Um, and so far, we have been getting actually good response, even with our vendors and different organizations coming on board to help us into building up ourselves. Um, I think it will work, and I know it will work because we have an executive that is very serious. Our president, Teresa Prosper, is very determined to get what she wants for our vendors. And as PRO, I'm gonna do my utmost best to go out to the media like tonight to make sure that we've heard on air.
All right, make sure their concerns are heard.
Yes.
Right, like Miss Prosper said, you're going to represent the vendors. Okay, so at least the vendors can feel some sort of solidarity, that they have somebody standing up for them, standing up for what they need and what they are fighting for. And like I said, when you have the numbers behind you, you have a stronger voice. So definitely hoping that those of you who are not yet members are listening, and those of you who are members can reach out to those who are not yet members and inform them of the goals of the organization, and to have them hopefully come on board before your launching. When will the official launch be?
Our official launch of Vendors Association will be done on the 1st of May at 4 p.m.
Okay, all right. And you said that the district rep was behind the initiative to have this organization.
Yes. I would also like to commend the district rep of Soufrière, Emma Hippolyte, for her outstanding performance trying to put us together. And I know certain times she's been very busy, and she's tried at least every time to come to a meeting to actually hear what's going on. And we have something surprising for each and every vendor. So
Okay, that's great. That sounds good. All right. When do you have another meeting coming up that interested persons can come to?
we haven't opened right now. We don't have a place of our own, which in the near future, as vendor, we'll have our own office space where you could come and register and do your different stuff. Right now, we are using the town council area where our president, Teresa Prosper, will be there. If you like, you could go speak to her, and she would, or any of the executive, and they will give you forms. They will issue you forms.
Okay. So after the first, do we have anything scheduled for after the launching, where persons can look forward to coming together to congregate or to voice their concerns, or will they? Since you said you don't have a space yet, will still be using the town council.
Yes. May 1st is just to say that we are ready, and we are not going to give up, and we are going to move forward to make Soufrière better. So after May 1st, we'll have lots of activities too. And we also want to give back as vendors as well. So it's just not being a vendor and not giving back to the society. So we have plans that our president will inform to you guys later. But we'll keep you updated of what's going on.
All right, wonderful. Okay, so we're about halfway through tonight's program. So I just want to remind those of you who just joined or joined a little late, we have with us the PRO of the Soufrière Vendors Association, Ms. Janelle Lamontagne, and we are discussing the formation of the organization, this new organization in Soufrière, who has already registered 100 members, and they're going to be launching on the 1st of May 2023. And this was an initiative of Honorable Emma Hippolyte, the representative for Soufrière for Saint Jacques. I want to say good night to those of you in the chat. Miss Lydia Joseph, good night to you. Good night, Sugani Vidal. Good night to you once again, Miss Prosper, Miss William, Miss Jean. Good night to all of you on our live. If you're on and you joined us late, we did ask that if you would like us to give you a shout out, please just send a little note in the chat so that I can see your name, so that we can give you a shout out tonight. Also, we want to ask all vendors who are on, if you have any questions, if you have any comments, if you have anything you'd like to say, while we have our representative from the Soufrière Vendors Association on. If you have any questions, if you have any comments that you'd like to ask, we are paying attention to the Facebook live chat at the moment, so this is your time to do so. We want to extend congratulations to the executive of the Soufrière Vendors Association. The names were called out a bit earlier in the program, so we want to congratulate you and commend you. All right, so our executive, we have the president, Miss Teresa Prosper, our vice president, Mr. Peter Butcher, the secretary, Miss Laverna Sen Bryce, the assistant or vice secretary, Natalia Jabaptiste, the treasurer, Vanelsa Joseph, the vice treasurer, Lena Clement, the PRO, Miss Janelle Lamontagne, who's here in studio with us, our trustees, Bridget Pascal and Agatha Survey, the floor reps, Michaelina Prosper, Lucretia Seville, Naamani Joseph, and Miss Agnes Regis. So, good night to all the executive members of the newly formed Soufre Vendors Association. I want to give you once again kudos on your goals, on the mission that you have set about in terms of assisting the vendors in being heard, in having their voices heard, and standing together in solidarity and and getting proper representation in the areas where it is needed most. Definitely a wonderful initiative. We want to give you guys the biggest kudos and wishing you all the very best in your endeavors, especially for the rest of this year. Um, as I said, this year is the year of the youth. So I wanted to find out from you, Miss Janelle, is there an age limit in terms of the vendors? What's the youngest you can be to be a vendor and a member of the association?
We we're looking on 18, 18 to 65.
Okay. So basically the age of adulthood to the age of retirement.
Yes.
Okay, so 18 to 65. All right. Miss Prosper says, big up to our market vendors, very serious about the association. All right. I think the market vendors are definitely the ones who want to make one of the biggest stands. They want somebody to stand up for them. So big up to the market vendors. I used to be a market vendor during COVID, so I'm bigging up myself as well. I still consider myself a market vendor. So big up to the market vendors. Very strong and robust group of people. All right, big up to you guys. Okay, good night, Misty Jeremy. Thanks for joining us on Let's Connect. All right, the number to call or WhatsApp if you want to join the conversation, 459-7888. If you want to call, if you want to WhatsApp, 730-5388. If you want to contact us and share your views on the show if you are unable to join us on our Facebook Live. We want to thank all those of you on air with us right now, on the live screen with us right now. Thank you so very much for joining us. We would love to keep the conversation flowing. So, any questions, any comments that you have, feel free to type it in the chat. Miss Janelle is here with us in studio. All right. As PRO, like you said, you will make it your duty to go to the various shows and to speak out on behalf of the vendors. I just want to say I hope that most times when persons put themselves out there, you have to have a bit of a tough skin because not every journalist is gentle, right? So
Yeah.
I want to caution you. Make sure you have your fortitude
Yes.
ready for you for when you go to face some of these programs. Don't let them fluster you. Just breathe, take your time. Remember, remind yourself what you're there for. You're there to represent the people that you are in the association with, your brothers and sisters in the vending world. And hopefully, we shall have the best of outcomes for the Vendors Association. Looking forward to the launch on the 1st of May. Delia Charles says, all the best to Miss Prosper and her team. Good initiative. It's a mark of progress. That's right. Definitely a good sign for Soufre that we have this association coming out. I looking forward to your membership growing as well. I think that this is something that we need as many persons on board for because, like we said, the more persons who are standing behind you, the bigger your voice is going to be. And this is what we need for us to enact change in Soufre within the organizations, especially for the vendors, because the vendors are truly the backbone of our society. I believe we have three sets of persons who are truly the backbone of our society. It's the market vendors, our fishermen, right, and our teachers. I think these are the people who really we need to bolster as much as possible. We need to stand behind them as much as possible. We need to give them the support as much as possible because they're really doing a lot for us and getting sometimes the worst kind of reactions from society. So we really need to do as much as we can for them. All right. So in anything else you can tell us about the association? Anything we might have missed out?
It's
We
not only a
Mhm,
Soufre association.
mhm.
We extend to Forshajak, Forjali.
Well, I consider all these places part of Soufre.
Suffering. Okay.
As far as I'm concerned, if you for Sejaki from Soufre, if you
Okay.
for
So
Jalibi from Soufre,
we
Chateau
just want to
Belle, Mon
remind
Lacroix.
them that it's
So
not
if you're in
Suffre
that area,
Central.
right? So don't think that because you're a vendor from that area, you cannot join the association. Put that out of your mind, right? Everybody is welcome. You're in Soufre, you're a vendor, you're welcome to be part of the association. Okay. Can we remind them of the qualifications needed to register? Refresh those of you who joined late and who did not hear what it is the requirements for you to join. So if you're a market vendor, what is the requirement?
The requirement is just get a form, fill it in, $20 with a picture ID.
Okay, if you are a it's not a craft vendor.
Craft vendor, yeah. Craft vendor or beach vendor, a character certificate, just to identify okay that because we're dealing with tourists, and a picture ID to likewise, and your $20.
Okay, but
But
there's no form for the craft vendor.
there'll be a form for each, the same form, but just different accent.
Okay, all right, great. And then the third category of vendor is the event vendor.
Yes. We also have a registration. Our registration will be closed on June 30th, 2023.
Okay, that's registration for all three types of vendors,
All
or
three types of vendors.
okay, great. All right. We have a few upcoming events in Sufra. We have or we just had Rise, and we have Jazz coming up, and we are also going to be having Carnival coming up. Are there any plans in terms of the event vendors? Do you have anything coming up in terms of them specifically for these upcoming events?
Well, the event vendors, we would like to come on board with them, but most of them is that's the time they do their daily bread. So we cannot take that opportunity and say, okay, we're gonna put ourselves towards it. To say, okay, we're gonna have a booth at Jazz Vendors Association. We're gonna leave that for our event vendors for now until we could come to a conclusion after the association is, well, it's formed already, and after the association is going on, then we could make suggestion that maybe next event Jazz that we could come along.
Okay. All right. Awesome. Awesome. Just a quick note for persons who have their own businesses. Previously, we had been speaking, especially when we had Honorable Emma Hippolyte on our program 2 weeks ago. We had been speaking about the MSME, micro, small, medium enterprise grown grant loan initiative, which was initially supposed to have their cutoff date, which would have been tomorrow, the 19th of April. However, the date has been pushed back to the 31st of May, as of today it was announced. So, for persons who had interest in applying but they had not registered their business, or they had not been able to complete their business plan, or they had been missing a form of ID, these were some of the or even had did not have a utility bill on their name. These are some of the areas we can now finalize before the next deadline, which is the 31st of May. And once again, we are letting you know that the Honorable Emma Hippolyte has provided a consultation for persons to get assistance with these areas. So feel free to come into the Super Constituency office and ask questions relating to these initiatives. Also, if you are below the age of 30, below the age of 35, between the age of 18 and 45, I should say, you are eligible for the Youth Economy Grant, which is up to $5,000. And this can be done very easily online at www.youtheconomy.lc, and you can apply right there. All the instructions are there. They even have a video that can show you what to do. So you do not have to collect a form or have to go through any of the other processes for the MSME in order to apply for the Youth Economic Grant. Okay, so but all information you can find at the Sufre constituency office or on the Ministry of Commerce website, the Youth Economy website, as well as we are able to send information to you via WhatsApp. If you are unable to come into the office number is 731 3234 731 free to free for. You can get information via WhatsApp. So just a gentle reminder for persons interested, especially if you are a vendor, you can register your business as a vendor, okay, so that you can apply for these initiatives to assist you in maybe getting your items for your booth, or for your table, if you need assistance in any way. If it could be something so simple that you need, and you might be able to get it through one of these initiatives, okay, so keep that in mind. All right. Miss Prosper, she says that we are going to write to the different promoters to say there is an association, so they have to go through this association before we go out of Soufre to get vendors. Okay, so in terms of approaching vendors outside of Soufre, I suppose that's what she's referring to. All right, so any other comments? We would appreciate persons who have any interest. If you have any questions, we have with us in studio the PRO for the Super Vendors Association, Miss Janelle Lamontagne, and we have in our live chat the president, Miss Teresa Prosper. So we can get your questions answered. But remember, you can also get a form from the executive members to join the Sufre Vendors Association, already 100 members strong. That's definitely an impressive number. Want to give them a big shout out once again. And I love the fact that we have men involved as well. We're not leaving everything up to the women. We want to show the support to them for sure, especially as they launch on the 1st of May 2023. All right. Miss Lamontagne, feel free if you have any shout outs you would like to give while you have the airtime. I would definitely extend that courtesy to you if you would love to give any shout outs to anybody while you're on air. And while we make sure our listeners get the opportunity to type out their questions if they have any, or if they have any comments they would like to send out while we have them. Like I said, also, if you have any birthdays, request shout outs, please take the time to send it to our chat while we have the chance. Okay? Well, feel free, Miss Janelle.
I'd like to shout out good evening to my son, my one and only son, Dominic Joshua Noah Mondesi from Texas. I think he's listening as well.
All right. Can you say his name again? Dominic?
Dominic.
Dominic. Okay. All right. Good night to you, Dominic. All right. We have a question here from Miss Delia Charles. She says, can Miss Lamontagne share some of the short to medium term benefits for members? Okay. So short term benefits, long term benefits. So give us some of the short term benefits for members. What are the, or just give us the benefits to members?
Okay. The benefit that we are looking at as an executive, we want each and every vendor to, we are advising each and every member for NIS. Why we say NIS is that we don't know what's going to happen to us. COVID came and there was a dysfunctional. Most persons didn't work, but NIS gave each and everybody who paid NIS. So we're encouraging our vendors to pay NIS. That's one of our motive by our vendors. We are asking them to pay NIS. Secondly, we also asking them that for health insurance. Jacques Credit Union has something going on. As vendors, we will try to come up with an initiative or something that we could go towards them and say, hey, we have 30 vendors. How can these 30 vendors with medical, how can that work? So if the numbers that we have, we could go to them and say, okay, it's $100, but we could bring it down to say, okay, $80 per vendor. So these are ideas that we're not going to force it. These are ideas that we really want to bring to our vendors to make it better. We also want a different. So by the time you coming down from Colobet to as far as the Sulphur Spring or Etongs, we want a wow. So we want to make sure our vendors are relative. We also we also gonna do training as well with our vendors. So our vendors will be getting a lot better
Equipped?
equipped in terms of customer service, their attitude, their form of dressing, the way they organize. So the market vendors would, you won't come to the market and you'll see the people would lying down with plastic or anything. Once we get our vendors to the stage that we want, you will be seeing them maybe with their flag of St. Lucia or something with their tie up, well tie up. You're gonna look forward to say, oh, I want to go by the market today because definitely our market vendors are ready to be served, ready to sell out their products, how they arrange their tray. We want to work with them as that. Their attitude. We don't want it a family thing. We want it to be something that everybody will come and other association will take note and see the difference that Sufre Vendors is ready to move forward um, in the way that we should. Because remember, Sufra is the breadbasket of tourism, and we want to make a difference. And I'm hoping and I'm praying, and with the executive, the strong executive again, I'm not going to leave my executive members out because all of us is one. We want to see something different. We want to see Sufre and the Vendors Association move forward.
I love the sound of that. That's really wonderful. I'm so happy that Ms. Delia asked that question because that is something that I think we definitely needed to hear. That these plans are there in place for that sort of unification of the vendors in terms of and especially the training. I think sometimes we neglect that even when we are adults, we feel like we don't need to learn anything new. I feel sometimes we do and we just don't know it. So sometimes even when we just are part of a group and the entire group is participating in something, I think it's such a beneficial thing. And I want to give the Sufre Vendors Association, especially the executive, a big round of applause for that particular right there. That is wonderful. So that is a great initiative. I love that. Mr. Conradi says presentation is very important. Well done. Misty Jeremy says unity is strength. That's right. That's right. Miss Delia says great. That's the way to go. So we definitely and feel like we're going in the right direction right now. And big up to the executive of the Sufra Vendors Association and the current 100 membership strong. I think that you guys are definitely have the right idea going that. So
And
keep the questions coming.
it's not
Yes.
100 only registered vendors. This 100 persons has paid their $20. So that is a big initiative. Kudos again to market vendors because they are the one upfront, serious about it. They don't play with time. And as executive, we as executives have to even check ourselves because if you say 4 o'clock, they'll be there quarter to ready to be to set a goal. So again, as the president said, good ups to market vendors. We still struggling with craft vendors, um, but event vendors are coming along fine.
Okay, great. Why do you think that the craft vendors are not as ready to join as the rest of the others, as the market vendors and the event vendors? Is that they've been do they feel neglected or that they've been neglected for too long, or what is the issue, their main issue?
The main issue we had a former Sufre Vendors Association, and it didn't turn out to be what they expected to.
Okay.
So most of them have a bit of doubt of joining the association. Secondly, most of them just don't want to. And thirdly, people believe this association is about politics. But to me, in my standard, in my opinion, there's nothing to do about politics because it's something that we're going to do better for Sufra. And it's not red or yellow or yellow or red. It's coming together for Soufre. And the market vendors has proven it to us that they are ready. Regardless of their color, they are ready and they're ready to come on board. So 70% of registered members are market vendors.
That's good. That's wonderful. I like to hear that. And in terms of the issue that persons are seeing it as a political initiative, I think when the organization has launched and when you have started some of the initiatives, when you have started doing the trainings and you've changed in terms of the uniform, and when the change is more visible, I think you will get persons to turn around. I believe that. I think once persons see the change,
Yeah, so
they
that's
will
why
come
we
around.
have it open. We have the registration open until June 30th.
Okay.
And after that, you will have to make sure each and everybody who comes to that association would have to pay additional more money. And also, they would definitely need a character certificate.
Okay. All right. So you've heard it here tonight. Right now, registration is open up until the 30th of June. And with the $20 registration fee, beyond that, when you come in, you will definitely have to present a character certificate and your fee will be higher than the $20. So we encourage you to take the time right now. Get your form, come in and speak to the members of the executive and get on board right now while the iron is hot. Strike while the iron is hot. Okay. Mr. Conrad says the training is very good for our country and for vendors. That's right. Training is important in all areas. I feel like we neglect too many areas where we can do better, and I really applaud the executive of the Vendors Association for their initiatives tonight. Thank you so much, Miss Janelle Lamontagne, for coming on tonight to speak to us. Thank you so much, Miss Teresa Prosper, for joining us in the live chat room as well. And I want to thank all those of you who came into the chat to share your comments, to send out questions, and we want to commend you on that as well. Miss Teresa Prosper says that you have a fundraising dance coming up soon.
Yes.
Yes. So is there a date as yet, or
No, we don't have a date, but there's lots of activities that we want to do. First of all, the fundraising dance to make sure that the organization is set and going. Um, we have picnics.
oh, can I come on a picnic?
Yeah.
I want to come on a picnic.
We also have the vendors exhibition. So our vendors will be exhibiting their goods. So the tourist vendors, event vendors, we're gonna try and make sure that Sufra is alive and there's vendors with a difference.
Okay. I look forward to that. I was saying not too long ago when I heard that you had a meeting, my mind immediately went to market vendors, and it was only afterwards I realized that it was open as well to event vendors and to craft vendors, and I felt like I should have come to that meeting, and I feel like I need to maybe consider. I'm still thinking about it. I'm not sure if I will ever go back into vending. So I'm still thinking about it. I don't know if a former vendor should consider joining the Vendors Association, but I'm considering it because I feel like you never know where life can take you. So, and I think that when you have this type of grouping of people behind you, you stand a better chance of success because you have persons who can give you advice, you have persons who can help guide you because they've had all the experience already. So sometimes you never know where life can take you, and you might need that sort of backer, like when you have that sort of support.
Yes.
I think that's definitely something to be considered. Mr. Conrad is asking who can give you a character of a certificate character. I think, isn't that the same thing as the police record?
Yes.
Yes.
Well, instead of going to the hassle of a police record, we had made it easier for our vendors. We say any two persons, so any person, a former teacher, a policeman, or anybody could give you that form of character.
So is there like something
Just
like
saying that,
so
okay,
it's just
that
a
person,
statement
yeah, just a
somebody is
statement.
making that says this person is of good character?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Okay, so that I hope that answers your question,
I
Mr.
also
Conrad.
I also need to say that on May 1st that we are going to invite some persons to our opening of our vendors association. One of our top person is we're going to invite Marcy in Soufre, the manager of Marcy in Soufre.
Mr. Cassius
Mr.
Tutut.
Cassius Kusus,
Tutuyut.
yes. um, Persons would say why, but as the executive and our president and as PRO, we need to bring along persons like Mr. Marcy Store on board, Cassius Marcy Store on board to make sure that our vendors, our market vendors, are able to go to get to sell their goods. So if he knows that there is an association going, then they would be able to say, hey, this is there's vendors that produce Christophine every week or Dashin every week. So they are able to go and sell to them. If they cannot get anybody who's their normal customers, but they could call us and say, hey, do you have a vendor that can provide us with yam for 3 weeks or 4 weeks? Because our other vendors would not be able to give it to us. So these are the tactic that we as vendors, as the executive, are trying to initiate.
I think that's a great idea. That's a wonderful initiative, and I think that from the few times that I've met Mr. Tutuyut, I do believe that he would be receptive to that type of conversation, and you can even maybe broaden it out to the hotels
Yes.
because we
And
have so many hotels, and especially as the season comes closer to opening, we know that so many more guests love to experience local food. So it would be a great opportunity if the different hotels or Airbnbs or the whoever has private chefs. I think some of the villas might have private chefs where they can access the different produce whenever they need it. So I think that's a good initiative for sure.
even with our event vendors, we need to let him know that there are vendors that are able to give them a hot cooked meal,
Caterers.
caterers and
Right.
stuff. So we need to let them know that as well.
That's right. I think that's wonderful that like I said, the support. I think the support system, when you have that support system, you can go further. So want to once again encourage you, if you are a vendor, if you are a farmer, if you are a caterer, if you work part-time in a restaurant, if you just like to bake at home every week, consider joining the Soufre Vendors Association. There are benefits for everybody. All right. I do appreciate tonight's show so very much. I am so happy to see all the comments and questions in the chat. Miss Teresa Prosper says we also have to thank Mr. Orlando Sachel, who has been supporting the association. All right. So
I'm
thank
sorry.
you.
I'm sorry.
You forgot him?
Yeah.
All right. That's why we have the
Oh,
support. You see,
yeah.
you see how important support is? You hear, and we have the support in the chat.
Thank you, Mrs. Prosper. Mr. Orlando came on board to initiate. Well, I wanted to leave it as a bit surprise, but since Mrs. Prosper said it, we would also like to thank him. He's going to be one of our biggest sponsors. And I'm hoping that the day you guys could come and see. I'm not saying anything yet.
Like he says, share the love.
I like to share the love.
Yes. All right. So big up to Chef Orlando Sachel. He was my sponsor for my pageant. So he's somebody that I know he supports in so many different areas in Soufre, and sometimes he goes unnoticed. And I remember during the what do you call it, the vaccine drive, when we were trying to get persons vaccinated, he was very supportive in that aspect as well. I don't think I would have gotten vaccinated if it wasn't for Mr. Orlando. honestly. He literally drove me to get me vaccinated. So he's definitely one of those persons who does a lot of support behind the scenes in Soufriere. So big up to him tonight. So once again, tonight has been about the Soufriere Vendors Association, which is going to be officially launched on May 1st. It is a initiative of Honorable Emma Hippolyte, being supported by Chef Orlando Sachel, and we have the executive members already in place and working hard. We already have 100 registered members. This is going to be a wonderful start in Soufriere. Yes, Miss. Yes, go ahead.
The foundation too. Glendia.
Miss Glindia Charles.
Yes.
That's right.
We have to give a good host her hard and working determination to try and put each and every vendors in order. She deserves
all the shout outs.
All the shout outs as
That's
well.
right. Okay, good night to you, Miss Glindia Charles. I hope you're listening to hear that you're being big up on 88.5 Soufriere FM tonight for your assistance in getting the Soufriere Vendors Association up and running. All right, so all those of you who are on board, all those of you who are gearing up to get on board, all those of you who are maybe still waiting to see, you're going to see some great things coming out of the Soufriere Vendors Association. Trust and believe. Also want to send a good shout out to the Foster Credit Union and to their managing team, Mr. Daniel Bob. Good night to you guys as well. Lots of persons to thank. I hope we don't forget anybody else. Okay, so it is now almost 9 p.m. We want to shout out 88.5 too as well, and to our team here, my in-house DJs and my in-house background team who's not on camera, but they're right here with us. So we want to thank you guys for letting the show get on proper tonight. We had no technical difficulties. Yay. All right, so good night. Thank you so very much for joining us on Let's Connect tonight. Join us next week Tuesday while we have another show. I want to say thank you to Miss Janelle Lamontagne. Thank you to Mrs. Teresa Prosper. Thank you to the entire executive. Thank you to Honorable Emma Hippolyte. Thank you to the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation. Thank you to the Foster Credit Union. And thank you to 88.5 Soufriere FM for all your assistance. Good night. Until next time. You're listening to Let's Connect.
My mommy protected me and my little nephew when she got vaccinated.
My doctor is protecting me. She's vaccinated.
My aunt protected me when she got vaccinated.
COVID-19 vaccines are available for people from the age of 12 years and older. Being vaccinated against the virus does not only protect you, it also makes our country safer for those who cannot receive the vaccine.
Vaccinate for you, for yours, for us.
Soufriere Jazz is back on Sunday, May 7th, 2023. The perfect vibe with the perfect setting under the Beatles. Chaz, Sammy, Arthur Allaire, Boo Hinkson, headliner Christopher Martin.
Don't let me cheat on my girlfriend.
And soca sensation Patrice Roberts.
Drink water and mind my business.
Early bird tickets 100 EC. Tickets cost 130 EC and VIP tickets 300 EC. Get your tickets at all sale outlets, Steve Barbershop, and the Soufriere Regional Development Foundation. Follow Soufriere Jazz the Experience on Facebook for more information.
Children under 12 are free. No smoking allowed.